Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive, where we take a deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at a League Two match. And this prediction, by the way, is brought to you by therealfl.co.uk. We've got Swindon Town facing off against Port Vale this Saturday. Pretty big implications for both teams, right? Especially, I think, for Port Vale pushing for that promotion spot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really exciting matchup. You've got Port Vale, like you said, pushing for promotion, and then Swindon battling it out at the other end of the table, trying to, steer clear of relegation.
Right. Very different stories for these two clubs. Okay, so let's dive into what we found. First off, both these teams are coming in red hot. 5-game unbeaten streaks for both in the league. But I did think it was interesting. Both their recent losses came against League One opponents. So stronger teams, but in the EFL trophy.
Yeah, and that kind of, I think, shows that the form in the league is genuine. They're both playing well. Those losses you can maybe put down to just, playing against tougher opposition.
Right, okay. So the first prediction from us at therealfl.co.uk was a draw. Now, draws, they don't happen all that often in football. What makes us think this one's going to be a stalemate?
Well, it's that form, isn't it? Both sides are playing so well at the moment. And, when that happens, it's difficult for either side to really take control of the game.
Okay, I see. But then the next prediction we made had me kind of scratching my head a bit. Over 2.5 goals. So how can we have a draw, but also a potential goal fest? Seems a little contradictory.
Well, if you look at the stats, both of these teams, they average over a goal a game. And that's, both for and against. So, they can score goals, but they also concede quite a few.
Right, especially Swindon. 44 goals conceded in 30 games. Yikes. They seem to be going for the whole we'll score, but you might too approach.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. And that's really what's feeding into that over 2.5 goal prediction. It's going to be an open game, I think. Very exciting to watch.
Definitely sounds like it. All right, thirds and final prediction for this match. Harry Smith to score anytime. So this guy's got a kind of interesting story. Rejoined Swindon from a relegated Sutton United side, and already, this season, matched his goal contributions from last season. What's behind this resurgence?
Well, he's on a bit of a hot streak at the moment, isn't he? 4 goals in his last 5 games. So when a striker's in form like that, they're always a threat to score.
Right. But wait, didn't you say earlier Port Vale's got a pretty solid defense? Sounds like we got an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object here.
Yeah, it does a bit, doesn't it? But even the best defenses can have an off day. And when you've got a striker in the kind of form Smith is in right now, well, Port Vale's going to have their work cut out for them trying to stop him.
Okay, so we've got a potential draw, but with lots of goals.
Yeah. And
a red-hot striker looking to add to his tally. Anything else we need to consider before we wrap up part 1 of this deep dive?
Yeah, there's one big factor. Swindon's historical dominance in this fixture. Since 2011, they've won 13 out of 21 games against Port Vale.
Wow, that's quite the record. Does that give them even more of an edge going into this one, despite, those defensive issues? Or could this be the match where Port Vale finally breaks that trend? We'll get into all of that and more in part 2 of this deep dive.
So yeah, that historical dominance, it's definitely something to think about. Adds another layer to this, to this whole matchup, I think.
It does. 13 wins for Swindon out of 21 matches against Port Vale since 2011.
Why have they been so successful against them? Is there like a tactical thing, a weakness they've been exploiting all this time?
I don't know if it's necessarily that, exploiting a weakness or anything, but I think maybe it's more of a psychological edge. When you've got that kind of record against a team, it gives you a certain confidence, going into these matches. And I think for Swindon, knowing they've had that success against Port Vale in the past, well, that can be a big factor, right? Like a mental block almost for Port Vale, knowing they haven't had much luck against them. But you'd think with their current form and, that push for promotion, they'd have extra motivation to finally break that curse, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this Port Vale team, they're a different animal to what we've seen in previous seasons. They're playing with a lot of confidence. They've got belief, and they've got a manager in Darren Moore who knows how to get the best out of his players. So they're not going to be intimidated by Swindon's past successes.
Okay, so we got this kind of clash of narratives here. Swindon's historical dominance versus Port Vale's, newfound confidence in that promotion push really sets the stage for a dramatic game, I think.
Definitely does. And then if you start thinking about like the individual battles that are going to be taking place on the pitch, it gets even more exciting. The midfield battle, for example. Swindon's got George Kilkenny. He's a real veteran in there. He'll be looking to control the game, set the tempo.
Yeah.
But then you've got Port Vale's got Tom Conlon. He's more of a box-to-box midfielder, real dynamic, can create chances out of nothing. So that's going to be a fascinating battle.
And, of course, the strikers. Harry Smith for Swindon. Jamie Proctor for Port Vale.
Yeah.
We've already talked about Smith. He's on fire right now.
Yeah.
But what about Proctor? Can he match Smith's goal scoring?
Proctor's he's a different kind of striker to Smith. He's not as physically imposing, but he's very clever, good at finding space in the box, and he's a clinical finisher. So don't be surprised if he's the one who ends up having a big impact on this game.
So many storylines here, so many interesting battles to watch out for. It's got me nervous just thinking about it. But okay, let's bring it back to those three predictions we made at the start, just to recap.
Yeah, so we're predicting a draw over 2.5 goals, and Harry Smith to score any time.
And remember, those predictions are based on our analysis of both these sides, the form they're in, their head-to-head record, and of course a little bit of gut feeling too.
But as they say, football is a funny old game.
Right. Anything can happen on the day, and that's what makes it so exciting. We could see a defensive masterclass that ends 0-0, or an end-to-end goal fest. Who knows?
Exactly. It's got to wait and see what happens. One thing's for sure, this Swindon Town Port Vale match, it's going to be a must-watch.
We've looked at all the stats and all the history between these two clubs.
But at the end of the day, it all comes down to what happens out there on the pitch Saturday.
Yeah, right. And that's what's so great about football. No matter how much we analyze it, how much we think we know, there's always that element of unpredictability.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you just never know. Could be Port Vale, they rise to the occasion and finally break that psychological barrier against Swindon.
Or maybe Swindon, they use that historical dominance to their advantage. Pull off another win, even if it's, a tight, low-scoring game.
And we can't forget about those moments of individual brilliance either. A player like Harry Smith or Jamie Proctor, they could just produce something special and completely change the game.
For sure. So, listeners, we want to hear from you. Head over to therealfl.co.uk. Check out our full article on this match and let us know what you think down in the comments.
Yeah, what's your prediction? Agree with ours. Or do you see something completely different happening?
Join the conversation. Let's all break down this match together. And we'll be back next week, of course, to go over all the action, see how our predictions did.
Until then, enjoy the beautiful game. And thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.